I had seen Saw before, but it's been many, many years, and I couldn't really remember a lot of the details. So, with the hope of falling in love with the series and watching the new Saw film, I decided to go back to the beginning, watch the first film, and hopefully become desperate to watch the second film. And while watching this, I was kind of thinking this is really tame. And I still think that to a degree, but it certainly became dark. And ultimately, I really enjoyed it. This was released originally in 2004. In my mind, it was older than that. But no, it's not even 20 years old yet, and yet is easily one of the most iconic horrors, mysteries, thrillers, however you want to categorize it. It's directed by James Wan, written by Wan and Leigh Whannell, and stars Cary Elwes and Leigh Whannell. And it's it's hard to describe what it's about without giving away too much. So, on the most basic level, two guys, Dr. Gordon, Cary Elwes, and Adam Leigh Whannell, wake up in this filthy looking room and they don't know how they got there, and their feet are chained to these pipes, and time is running out. And I don't want to say too much more about it. We learn more as we go along. The great thing about this is that, at least to begin with, we don't know any more than they know. And whenever we find out something, the characters realize it, or the other character tells the other character something at pretty much the same time. So for the entire film, we only really have as much knowledge as the characters themselves. And I think that worked really well. And it's definitely unpredictable. And I enjoyed the journey. I feel like they maybe cut out of that room one too many times for my liking. We do get to see flashbacks that are relevant and a few things that are happening at the same time outside of the room. Jigsaw was in it a lot less than I'd expected, which is a shame because it's such an eerie looking character. I hope when I watch the next Saw films, Jigsaw will have more of a prominent role, or at least feature more heavily. But the time that we spend in that space, I just thought was brilliant. The performances were incredible, and the space itself is just fabulous. It's horrendous, but it's fabulous. And the pacing is really great. The whole film itself is about an hour and 40 minutes, and in a good way, it feels like it's half an hour because time just goes by so quickly because it's so compelling. And thankfully, it wasn't too confusing. I was worried it was going to become one of those films where there are so many pieces of the puzzle, and if you're not paying 100% attention, you're going to get lost and confused. But I found that everything made sense. Nothing was predictable. But when we found out things, I began to connect the dots, and everything, I believe, was easy enough to follow without being, too complicated. A lot of horrors and thrillers think in order to be good, they need to be overly complex, and thankfully Saw didn't fall into that trap. Not that it's straightforward, it is relatively complex in parts, but I think everything's explained at the right time and at the right pace that it's possible to keep up with what's going on. As I said, it was quite tame. It definitely is. It wasn't anywhere near as scary as I thought. It's moderately suspenseful throughout it, and I feel like the last 10 minutes, I won't say what happens, but in the last 10 minutes, it's incredible. The camera angles are amazing, the makeup effects are fantastic, and we really get to the heart of the story. And I just think the journey was a little bloodthirsty and quite tame, but it's like everything was building up and everything was just unleashed as we kind of went into the end of the film. And I won't say whether that's a good thing or a bad thing for the characters because I don't want to spoil it, but it certainly is worth waiting. If it's not quite holding your attention, if it's not scary enough or suspenseful enough for you, I'd say stick with it. I am very excited for the second film. I don't know how they're going to play out or how the franchise could possibly have lasted for so many films. I'm keen to see. I hope that I continue to love them, but at least for now, I'm going into the second film based purely on this first film, with a really positive outlook. I think it's going to be brilliant. I hope. Certainly, this first film was really enjoyable.